Director Washington, has violent crime increased this year in major urban areas?
The data indicates it has increased.
Aggravated assaults up 14%, homicide rates up 53% in major urban areas. In that environment, should big cities be defunding their police? New York City is defunding their police $1 billion. Los Angeles, 150 million reduction in police force and police budget. Austin, Texas, 150 million. San Francisco, 120 million. Philadelphia, 33 million. Baltimore, 23 million. Portland, Oregon, 16 million. Does that make sense to you, Director Washington?
Not to me. As the head of the law enforcement agency that is charged with handling violent crime, and in fact, in many of those cities, of course, we've deployed deputy U.S. Marshals to participate on various task forces to address the increase in violent crime.
In that overall environment, the increase in violent crime, cities defunding their police department, should we be releasing more criminals early back into those neighborhoods?
I don't think we should, Congressman.
But that's exactly what Democrats want to do. And it's not just, as the chairwoman said earlier, it's not just those that you go through and make sure, Director Carvajal, that you go through and make sure that they're not going to be a harm to the community. That's not what they said in their letter. As Congresswoman Lesko just pointed out, when they sent the letter to Attorney General Barr back in March, they said, assess all prisoners for release, regardless of the type of institution in which they're housed. Here's the key part: regardless of the seriousness of their offense or the potential recidivism risk that they pose to the community. So they wanted everyone to get released in an environment where we already have a 53% increase in homicide rates, a 14% increase in aggravated assaults, and big city mayors and big city councils, all run by Democrats, are defunding the police department. That's exactly what they wanted to do. You think that makes sense, Director Washington?
Well, again, Congressman, from my agency's perspective, we've been very busy addressing violent crime in the United States. As you well know, we've initiated Operation Legend as a result of the death of young Legend Talaferro in Kansas City, Missouri. 4-year-old in bed gets shot and killed is not a thing that we want to happen in the United States. So what we've done, of course, is participate in various cities around the country. Operation Legend continues. I just received the data yesterday on the 20th week of Operation Legend. And for example, in Chicago, we've arrested 1,000 folks who fit the categories of either homicide, sexual assault, robbery, and things of that sort.
Yeah, I actually want to, I forgot one thing. It's worse than I just described. They not only want to release criminals back into communities where there's already an elevated state of violent crime, where the police are being defunded, they not only want to release people early, regardless of the seriousness of their offense, they want the taxpayers to pay for it. I forgot about that. They introduced legislation that said, we want to pay states to do what I just described. Such a deal for the taxpayer. I mean, this is the part. No wonder you got. Think about the small business owner in Portland, for example. You got a small business owner in Portland who's paid all their local taxes, only to have their business in downtown Portland be destroyed this summer when the mob took over the streets. And now Democrats are saying, oh, now we want to use your federal tax dollars to put more criminals on the streets. Does that make any sense to you at all, Director Washington?
Well, Your Honor, Congressman, I'm not, of course, a politician. I just run a federal law enforcement agency. From a law enforcement perspective, that doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. Oh, and to make, there's one other step. It gets better. There's one other thing. We just learned that 15% of the inmates in our Bureau of Prisons are illegal immigrants. Is that right, Director Carvajal?
Non-U.S. citizens.
Non-U.S. citizens, and the Democrats want them released as well. Regardless of the seriousness of their offense, they want taxpayer money to be used to pay the states to release illegal immigrants, regardless of their offense, back into communities where we've seen a 53% increase in violent crime and where those same cities are defunding their police. That might be the craziest thing I've ever heard, but that is exactly their policy. And frankly, Madam Chair, I would ask for unanimous consent to enter the letter you sent, along with Chairman Nadler, to the Attorney General, which spells out what I just described.